Okay.
Today is week 13 of our 52-week homeowner and home buyer webinar series, where every week we take an essential part of either buying a home or being a homeowner and we break those components down each week for small, manageable pieces that we can kind of spoon feed you. Hopefully, at the end of the 52-week series, our goal is that you'll know everything that you need to know about the home buying and home selling process. This is not just for home buyers, this is for home sellers as well. So, we want to go ahead and get started again this week. We are covering all things appraisals, and this is important if you're financing land, a piece of land, or a home. Okay. All right. Key topics for tonight's discussion. Tonight, we're going to explore the essential appraisal topics, including what an appraisal is, who conducts it, and how it impacts your real estate transaction. A real estate appraisal is an objective evaluation of a property's fair market value, and it's crucial for lenders because it ensures that the loan amounts align with the property's worth. I know you guys remember back circa 2008, 2009, when the housing market went crazy, went boom. That was in large part because people were getting these exaggerated appraisals that said that this home is worth $500,000. But the next year, when the county rolled in, they were only valued at, let's just say, 300,000. And so what was happening is you had a loan for more than what the home was worth. So what people started doing was just walking away. Some were going to buy the house across the street because it was cheaper and the loan was cheaper. So it was a bunch of foreclosures as a result of that. And so that is why the appraisers are, as you'll see here in the presentation, the appraisers have to be hired by the bank. The lender orders the appraisal while the buyer typically pays for it upfront or through closing costs. Most of the time, the appraisal is paid upfront. So the buyer will pay it. This is a non-refundable cost, but it safeguards the integrity of the valuation process. It makes it safer for the buyer and safer for the bank. Safer for the bank because they know that if this home is listed at $300,000 and is contracted at 300,000, that it is valued at least 300,000, and it protects the bank because the buyer is not sitting up there saying, "Well, I got a loan for 500,000, but the home is only worth 300. I'm going to walk away." So it protects both parties. Appraisals typically occur after the home inspection and during the option period, but depending on the market and the lender's volume, it may vary. So typically, whether I'm representing a buyer or a seller, I'm going to know when the appraisal is going to be scheduled, and I'm also going to know when the appraisal report is going to be due back. So we typically keep those dates together. And I know we talked, I think week 1, 2, or 3 about the timeline of the whole process of buying a home or selling a home. And we give you those important dates. Those dates are included in that as well. Appraisals protect, like we just said, both lenders and buyers by ensuring that the loan amount aligns with the property's fair market value, preventing overpaying and safeguarding financial investments. Appraisal costs range from $400 to $700 for residential properties, while larger homes may incur higher fees. But always consult with your lender for specific pricing details. Now, if there is a rush, if for any reason there has to be a rush on the appraisal, then it could get up. I've seen them upwards of about $850, $900. Appraisers assess various key features to determine the property's value, including the condition of the property, the size of the property, the square footage, the location, and the recent comparable sales, ensuring an accurate valuation for lending purposes. So these are the factors that are important for the appraiser to use: the condition, how it looks, if all the components work, where it's located, and what the square footage of it is, again, as well as what the market is doing around the home, what similar homes in the area have sold for. For buyers, your agent should always, 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 always run a CMA before you submit an offer. Now, CMA, often referred to as a comparative market analysis, which gives you comps, shows you what similar homes have actually sold for, not what the sellers are asking for the home. So comps that are used are homes that have sold, not homes that are currently on the market. So before submitting an offer, your realtor, another reason why you should have a realtor, a good realtor, your agent should pull recent comps so that the buyer knows if the price that they want to submit on this home is supported by the market. Offering over market value or offering more than what the home is listed at means that you may be expected to cover the gap between your offer and the appraised value out of pocket. If that happens, let's just say you have a home that's listed at 300,000. You as the buyer, you submit an offer for 300,000. That offer is accepted, but when the appraisal comes in, let's just say it comes in at $290,000. So the difference is $10,000. What happens at that point is, if you want to move forward and if the seller is unable or unwilling to come down in price to the 290, now you have a $10,000 gap. You also have to still come to closing with your closing costs plus your down payment. All of those three columns will equal your cash to close. So that is why you want to make sure that the home makes value, because your lender is only going to give you the amount of money that the home appraises for. So a CMA protects your money and it sets realistic expectations before you are emotionally invested. All right. Sellers, this is why comps should drive your list price. Do not think that you can just say, you know what, I put a pool in my house, I have a generator in my house, I have a freaking basketball court in my house. I want to list my home for 750,000 when all of the other homes in the area have sold for 500, right? If yours is similar to that property, but you've done all these extra upgrades, you've possibly over improved your property for the area. Your agent's CMA shows recent sold prices for comparable homes. It's about what the market will support right now, not 2 years ago. So pricing your home is not about what you as a seller need. It's not even about what you paid or what your neighbors got years ago. It is about what the market will support right now. All right. So you have to understand that your agent wants to do a good job for you. They want to make sure that they can sell your home for you. And so we need to make sure that we are listing with data. We are data driven and not emotion. And doing that gives your home the best shot at appraising at or above the contract price and getting to the closing table. It is important to note that if your home, because you are the buyer and you are paying for the appraisal, if the home contracts at 300,000, but the appraisal comes back that it is valued at 310,000 or 20,000 or 30,000, nobody knows that but you, the buyer, and the lender. The seller does not know. So that means that whatever amount over what you're paying for the home, that home is appraised at, you are immediately going into that home with immediate equity. So again, for example, if the home is contracted at 300,000 and it comes in at 310, and you go ahead and purchase this home, you will immediately have $10,000 in equity in that home.
There's also a strategy that sellers can use to understand what their home will appraise at, and that is by having a pre listing appraisal conducted before their home hits the market. And this could be a game changer and the difference in how smoothly and profitably the home sale goes. So, before the home ever hits the market, a licensed independent appraiser who is then hired in this process for the pre-listing appraisal. They are hired by the seller to evaluate their property and give a certified opinion of its current market value. Now, here's why this matters to a seller. So firstly, the seller can price with more confidence. No more guessing, no more hoping. They'll know exactly what their home is worth, and it'll be backed by data so that they can price the home strategically from day one. Secondly, a pre-listing appraisal eliminates surprises at closing. One of the most common reasons that deals fall apart is a low appraisal during the buyer's financing process. Thirdly, it gives the seller negotiating power. When a buyer comes in with a lowball offer, the seller has certified documentation to stand behind their price. Again, that's a true game changer. And fourthly, a pre-listing appraisal builds trust with buyers. The pre-listing appraisal signals that the sellers are serious, transparent sellers, and that alone can attract stronger, more motivated buyers.
The danger of overpricing a home and why it can kill an appraisal. When a home is overpriced and a buyer's offers matches the list price, the appraiser still has to justify the value of the comps. I know a lot of people think the appraisers are the bad guys. They don't ever want to have the home meet value. That's not true. They still have to do their job to make sure they have supporting properties that support that price. So if the comps don't support it, the appraisal will come in low and then the deal is at risk.
Overpricing leads to possible price reductions, longer days on the market, and a stale listing. Here's an example.
A home that you're trying to buy can go from active to option pending to pending and then back to active. And so when I am representing a buyer and we've seen that that home has been under contract before, I'm going to call the agent to find out why is that? Why did it come back on the market? Those are questions that I will have for the listing agent. They don't always have to tell me, but I'm going to ask. So you have to price a home right from day one. And the appraisal becomes a confirmation, not a crisis for the transaction. So pricing it right, again, using data, not emotion, because it's not about what the seller wants or what they need. It's about what the market tells you this home could possibly sell for. Now, here's how comps for the CMA are chosen. Appraisers identify homes with similar attributes, homes that were sold within the last 6 months that are similar to the subject property. They focus on the size of the home, so square footage, the age of the home, the year it was built, the condition of the home, and the location where it's situated. This ensures accurate comparisons and fair market valuations. I will say that we sometimes sell country estates. We sometimes sell homes that aren't cookie cutter, that aren't in subdivisions. How about that? And so because of that, it could be a home that is semi-custom or custom. And for example, we sold a home last year. It was one of only two homes that were two-story in this community. I think there was probably a community of like 15 to 20 homes, no more than that. And there was nothing else like this home in the community. It was the largest home in the community. It was a two-story, and it was on half an acre. And so what the appraiser was able to do at that point is they were able to go a little bit further out distance wise, and they were able to go a little bit further back beyond the 6 months to get some comps together. So we were able to get that price so that we can know what we can list it for. So when the or if the home comes back and it hasn't met value, what are the options? Because navigating valuation challenges in real estate can be a booger wolf. I ain't said that word in a long time. A low appraisal means the lender will not fund the full loan. Again, in our earlier example, if you've contracted on a home at 300,000 and it only appraises at 290, the lender is only going to give you 290. They're not going to give you 300,000 for that home. So you have four options at that point. You can renegotiate with the seller to get them to lower the price to whatever the home appraised for. The buyer can pay the gap out of pocket. The seller and the buyer can split the difference. So in the example about 290 and 300, it was a $10,000 difference. The buyer can say, I'll come in at 295, and the seller will say, I'll come down to 295. They can agree to do that. Or you can terminate the contract using the appraisal contingency and get your money back. It's important for me to note, if you have an FHA loan, and if you have a VA loan, if you have either one of those loans, the appraisal contingency is built into the contract. Okay, so you're protected there. If you are paying cash for a property, or if you have a conventional loan, then you have to make sure that your agent gives you an appraisal addendum to make sure that your earnest money is protected in the event that the home does not appraise. So those are your four options. I will tell you, again, it's tricky, this whole appraisal thing, and you want to make sure that it's done right from day one, straight out the gate. Because let's just say you're a buyer and you contracted on this $300,000 home, and you ask the seller to give you a $10,000 seller concession, and they say, okay, and you go under contract. So now it's still a $300,000 sale. They're giving you $10,000 in closing costs. But let's say the home comes back at 290 for the appraisal. Now the seller does not still have to give you that 10,000. They can say, I'll lower the price, but I'm not going to give them those seller concessions. And so again, the transaction could in essence be in jeopardy. So you want to make sure, again, you start off and hit the ground running with a good offer on a home that is priced well. And even if it's not priced well, a home that your agent has done the homework on to make sure we are giving you this. The reason why we're giving you our offer at this price is because we see what other things around you have done. Okay. And so it is, it's not lost on me that nobody wants to spend money if a transaction is not going to close. You will have spent money on an option fee. You will have spent money on an inspection. You will have spent money on this appraisal. Nobody wants to do that. And you will have wasted a lot of time. Time is money. Okay. So we want to make sure that we, again, are going out the gate the way that it should be to ensure that this transaction has the best opportunity of getting to the closing table. Now, if an appraisal comes in low, your agent does always have the ability to get with the lender and request a reconsideration of value. So you're going back at the appraiser and saying, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Appraiser, I think there may have been something that you missed. So they can submit, another reason why it's good to have a realtor, a good realtor. They can submit the comparable sales that the appraiser may have missed. They can also, in that letter of reconsideration, they can point out factual errors, but you got to do it in a way that, is respectful. Nobody likes you to go to their job and tell them that they're doing it wrong, right? So you want to make sure that it's being presented in a good way. I'm sure if between your seasoned realtor, your professional realtor and lender, they can put together a written rebuttal Success is not guaranteed in situations like this, but it's always worth trying, especially if it's going to save you some money and get you to the closing table. Now, a lot of people confuse an appraisal with an inspection. An appraisal and a home inspection are completely different. An appraisal equals value. It's what the home is valued at. It's what the home is worth. And that is ordered by the lender, but paid for by the buyer. A home inspection is the condition of the home, the report card on the home, in essence. It tells you what's wrong with the home. And that is ordered by the buyer. It's initiated by the buyer and it is paid for by the buyer. So the buyer is going to call the inspector to schedule their home inspection. The lender is going to call the appraiser, AMC, Appraisal Management Company, to get the appraisal ordered. Both of these are critical. And an appraiser is not a home inspector. I'm going to say it once again. They're both vital to the home buying process. A home inspection, you can buy a home without an inspection. But again, I always say, if you're going and it's important to you to have your wellness checks every year, you want to, because you want to know what's going, you could look great on the outside, but what's going on the inside? Well, with a home, same thing. You want to know what's going on behind those walls. All right. Ways to maximize your appraisal. This is for sellers. Okay. Here are the essential tips for sellers to maximize the appraisal. So to achieve the best appraisal results, you want to make sure that you have completed deferred repairs that you put off completing. So repairs such as having the HVAC serviced, changing the freaking filters, okay? Repairs like maybe having some caulking done around the home. Those are small things. We talked about it last week. They will appear on a home inspection report, but an appraisal can show those as well. You want to make sure any deferred repairs you have completed, especially the big ticket items. So if you know you want to sell your home and you know your roof is in rough shape, then you either want to get with the insurance company to see if part of that and if part of that can be paid for by the insurance to reduce your out-of-pocket costs, or you just want to make sure you get it done, because doing so will ensure that your home has the best chance of making value. You also want to freaking declutter the home. Too much clutter puts you in a bad state walking through your door. We want the appraiser to come in your home happy and hopeful and seeing, butterflies and you know what I mean? We want them to feel happy coming into your home so that the home presents in the best light. And you want to enhance curb appeal. In other words, you want this appraiser coming into your home saying, yeah, people will want to live here. They're going to want to live here, because that puts the price of the home at the very top, right? So if they have a range of what your home could, the value of your home, what the value of your home could be, yours is at the top. And also, it is important to provide a list of upgrades to your realtor, and then your listing agent, because this is for sellers. It is important to provide a list of upgrades that you've done to the home, because this can positively influence the appraiser's opinion, and it allows them to add on to the bottom line. It allows them to give you credit for some of those things that you have done in the home, some of those upgrades. Now, there is always a risk of waiving appraisal contingencies. Ugh, it makes me really nervous. So unless there is an amazing reason why you as a buyer would want to pay more for a home than what it's valued at, I'm gonna say, really think about it, sleep on it. Let's talk about it tomorrow after you have some time to really, digest the information of what the appraiser has told us. Because again, you can have a home that you have said, I'll pay $300 for it, put my offer in, Mr. or Mrs. Realtor, it comes in at $290, and you can say, "Who, Lord, I got this $10,000. I'm gonna go ahead and pay the difference, right? Doing so means that you are already behind the eight ball when it comes to getting equity, when it comes to building equity into the home, right? So again, if there's a reason like, you know what, my aging parents live down the street and it is important to me that I'm near, they don't want me in their home, they still want, their independence, but I want to be close. If it's something like that, or if it's a house that's like, I gotta be in this house because my kid got to go to this school. If it's something like that, then yeah, let's talk about it. Ultimately, if I'm your buyer's agent, I work for you, but I'm just telling you, because I do work for you, I want to protect your pockets. And also in competitive markets, buyers may waive appraisal contingencies, agreeing to cover the possible gaps between the contract price and the appraisal value, which can pose significant financial risks. This happened a lot during the pandemic, and we saw it a lot, but still, first time home buyers are my babies. I do not want first time home buyers to get themselves in a pickle, even if they have the money, because again, it's going to take more time to actually start earning equity. Essential insights for buyers. Understanding appraisals is crucial for making informed decisions in real estate. So you want to make sure that you're proactive, that you communicate with your agent and your lender, and always be prepared for various appraisal outcomes. Keep in mind, I said we want to set you up for success. So before an offer is even written, we are providing you with comps of homes that have sold in the area similar to the subject property and what they have sold for. All right, I would love to connect with you guys. If you think you're ready, you can schedule a free consultation with me. We can run through it to see if you're ready. If you're not ready, we can put you together a plan that will get you ready. If you have any questions about tonight's webinar or any of the past weeks, this is week 13. This is week 13. So any of the past weeks, you can find all of those replays on YouTube. We want to make sure that we are just a phone call or text away. Here are some of the resources that you should have already received from past weeks here. And then here are more resources. We have resources on how to purchase land, what to look for, the different loans associated with purchasing land, because purchasing land is different. It's a different animal than purchasing a home. And then again, like I said, you can find us on YouTube, past videos under the Houston Suburbs, where we have all of our past videos from our past webinars. Coming up next week, why is there so much damn paperwork involved in real estate transactions? I'll give you a hint. It's all about protecting you. So next week, we're going to talk about all of the paperwork. It may be a little boring. I'm going to try to make it, as lively as I can, but bear with me. But then we're going to also talk about the seller's disclosure. As I was watching some of the past webinars, I realized that I kind of hopped over that, and I want to go back and give a little bit more attention, shed a little bit more light, because that is very important. A seller's disclosure is going to come in when one is purchasing a resale home, and it's basically a report card from the seller on how the home operates. So it's very important, and I want to make sure that I give it the time that it deserves. For that takes us to the end of this week 13 webinar. We are 30 minutes in, and I want to find out, do you guys have any questions at all about this week or any of the prior weeks? Any questions? Let's see. Nope. Okay. All right. I don't see anything. Oh, chat. Hold on. Let me go. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me see. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. All right. So if that is all, I want to remind you guys, please invite anyone that is looking to buy or sell please feel free to invite them to this webinar. Again, we are here every Wednesday. We start promptly at 7 o'clock. But I want to remind you that for all of your real estate needs, the Homegirls are always ready and willing to enable you to find your way home. Till next week, guys. Bye.
Want to catch up on past Wednesday webinars? Well, we've made it easy for you by compiling all of the videos into a playlist that you can start checking out here. Also on this channel, you can check out community drive-through tours, buyer tips, seller tips, model home walkthroughs, new community intros, all things real estate, even inventory and move-in ready homes. Please leave us a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share if you care.